Greetings, Internet. My name is Chris, and this is Sanctum Ophidia on Veteran Mode. Before every single boss fight, I'm going to show you a little clip of the main strategy I would use for this. So you'll see a small clip before every single boss fight, basically, and I'm just going to explain alongside the clip, because there's no audio on it or anything. Alright, so the first boss is the Manta Cora. And the Manta Cora spawns in the blood pool after you light these two braziers. However, when you light the two braziers, you'll have to kill waves of enemies that come from the three places I'm indicating right now. And once you've killed, I think it's 6 conjurers per side, and there's 3 sides as I pointed out, the Manta Cora will spawn. When it spawns, you then want to pull it over to where I'm standing right now and face it that way that I'm shooting. So the boss will be hitting this direction, which is important. And then the tank will be standing here, and then the group will be standing behind the Manta Cora, basically. Because they made a change to the Manta Cora, which means that now its heavy attack is a cleave attack, and it will one-shot anyone who gets hit by it. And then once you've had the perfect group phase, you'll move over here, so you don't stand in all the spears, and then after the next perfect group phase, you move back here. The perfect group phase is basically you'll have 3 people that will go down the portal when it drops. And you'll see here in a second after I die, because for some reason I die here. Oh yeah, because I don't dodge roll the popcorn. But yeah, after I die and get resurrected, I go down the portal. And this is what the perfect group is for. Basically, you have 3 people, a tank, 2 DPSs, or a tank, an off healer, and a DPS. And they just go down the portal to kill the bottom boss. The popcorn that killed me is an explosion that spawns at your feet and then explodes outward, growing bigger and bigger with each explosion. And you have to dodge roll this or sidestep it or whatever. And I mistimed my dodge roll, which is why I died in the beginning of the clip. So you can see I go down the portal. The problem with the portal mechanic is the fact that it's based on RNG, which is actually a reason why I initially didn't make a guide for this when it came out and when I started beating it, because it's really hard to show people how to beat a fight when the fight relies so heavily on being fortunate with good random number generation. And it's the same with the popcorn. The popcorn can hit every single party member, which is kind of silly, honestly, because it can hit the main tank and completely wipe the group. Fortunately though, you have 2 tanks when you're doing the Manta Cora, which means if the main tank dies, the off tank will then grab the boss. And it's the same if the main tank goes down the portal, the off tank will stay up top. And the reason why we're not actually doing the positioning that I showed you in the clip just before this is because this is actually a clip from when we first beat the Manta Cora. Or actually, no, it's the second time we beat the Manta Cora, I think, and we hadn't really developed a good strategy for it yet at that point. So that's why we're standing like this. And if you look at the group frame in the top right, or top left, I mean, there's a lot of dead people everywhere, and that's because of the spears, because they last for a very long time. Also, fucking cool dodge roll there for no reason. You can also see the boss is now red, which is something that happens when he hits 15%. Basically, he'll go berserk and all his attacks will do more damage. He has a bleed as well that will affect everyone in his stomp. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of people in the background that are dying because the spears are just in such a shitty location. And that's why we usually do what I showed you in the beginning, where we start on one side and then run over to the other side. That way we avoid standing in the spears, basically. Because they have, I think it's a minute duration on the spear circles, so it's kind of annoying. Okay, we're moving on to the next boss. This is the Stonebreaker. This is where he spawns. The strategy we use for him now is where the tank triggers the boss and then runs all the way back to the end of the bridge. This won't be the tactic we use in the clip, because the clip is also almost a month old. before we implemented any good strategies into our runs. But yeah, so you can cheese the boss by pulling all the way back here, and what you achieve from doing this is that you don't have to deal with the overchargers until the boss is dead, basically. And the boss has 3 attacks. He has a stomp, and he has what's it called? Ground pound. The thing he's doing right now, that's the ground pound, which goes out in all directions. And the stomp is this thing right here. And then he has poison that he'll throw at random people. I think it hits up to 3 people in front of him. So for example, if he throws it towards me, it will only hit me because I'm the only person standing here. But if he throws it the other way, it will hit up to 3 people. And of course the poison spreads whenever you're standing on top of someone who has poison, or if you have poison. So that's a mechanic that you'll figure out quite quickly when you're in here, and it's really annoying, the poison mechanic, but yeah, it's just something you have to learn to deal with. So yeah, every 25% he's gonna spawn these overchargers at the top of the stairs, and that's the main reason why we have started implementing the tactic where we run all the way back to the other side of the bridge. And you'll see them spawn in not too long. As soon as he hits 25, we'll get the last set of overchargers. The overchargers are extremely annoying in the new veteran ESO here, because they do lightning and then they do something called storm call. You see there's the overcharger spawning in the back. I take the boss and move back quite a bit, just so his ground pound and slam doesn't hit other people. But yeah, so the overchargers do something called Storm Call, which you'll see on me here in a second. I'll call it out when it happens. Which is basically circles to spawn at your feet and keep exploding. Yeah, these right here. And they hit for a ton of damage. Like, I think it's 7k on my tank, and I have, you know, really high resistance. Like 7k every time it hits, so you can even kill a tank in like 3 to 4 hits, which is ridiculous. So yeah, the overchargers are definitely something to be reckoned with. And this boss also has a berserk mechanic once he hits 10%, which also makes all his attacks do more damage. And you'll see it here once he hits 10%. But yeah, this fight is pretty straightforward. I would say this is probably the second easiest fight in here. And the Manta Cora is the second hardest fight. Okay, you see he's enraged now. The hardest fight is the next boss, the Orsara fight. And then I think the easiest boss is by far the Serpent, which I'll explain in a moment here. Okay, we're moving on to the Orsara fight. So where I'm standing right now is where the main boss will be standing. And this is where you want to sort of hold the boss with the main group. But you're gonna have a healer and a tank do the line of sight. So right now I'm just gonna point out where the ads spawn. There's 4 main ads. Right here is the War Priest. This will go into the main group, which means the main tank will be grabbing the War Priest. Over here is the Archer, which is called the Serpent's Fang. He will go with the line of sight group. And then over here is the Overcharger. He will go with the line of sight group as well. And then lastly over here is the Troll, which will also go with the line of sight group. Next to the Troll also spawns a Shaman that 1 DPS will have to kill because it puts down a totem. So right here is where the off tank will stand. He'll grab the Overcharger, the Archer, and the Troll, and then move back out of the room. Cool black door, by the way. Out of the room, stand like this until the ads come to the door. And basically you can stand here and tank them without them interfering with the main group. And this will just be a tank and a healer. What you can also do is you can grab them and then just run this route I'm indicating with my cursor right now. We had a good run where the tank and healer did this, and the tank just kept running in a circle around here. And the healer would just stand and heal him every time he passed. And that's a very easy way to deal with the ads, basically. So the footage you're seeing right here is from the main group. The boss has only really one mechanic, which is the lightning pins, and then it does a really hard hitting heavy attack that will kill you if you're not blocking it. So it's very important you don't let go of block whenever she like lifts into the air. When she starts moving her hands, I'll try and point it out when it happens. That's when she'll do her pins. So if we look right now, and then pins fall, there's a pin on the tank. And the pins, basically you just have to stand on top of the person that's pinned and then push the synergy key. One thing though, the pinions have to be synergized twice for whatever reason. So what I usually do is I press synergy, and then I interrupt it by blocking, and then I synergize again, and that frees the person. The person cannot free themselves from the pins, which is very important to note. Also, you can see the War Priest I was holding is now dead to the left of me. It's actually 2 dead War Priests. So in a second here, I'll start looking to the left where the War Priest spawns. That way I'll taunt it when it comes out. And basically the reason why you want to taunt the War Priest to the main group is because the War Priest does a slow, which is like, I think it's 90% slow or something ridiculous like that. I also see there's the synergy coming up. I'm looking towards the left for the War Priest. So yeah, it does like a ridiculous slow, which would fuck up the line of sight group if they had the War Priest. See there it spawns. And the reason why we're not killing the ads, like we're not focusing the ads down, and we have the line of sight group, is because they will respawn with every single ad wave. And all the ad waves are no more than 1 minute between, which means you could kill an overcharger or an archer or a troll, whatever, and it might respawn immediately after. Which is, in my mind, or in my opinion, it's a really bad mechanic, because it encourages, you know, exploitive tactics like what we're doing. You know, you're not supposed to probably pull the ads out of the room, but that's the only way you can really deal with it. So yeah, this boss fight is not very well designed, I think. And it's hard for the wrong reasons. Like, it's hard because you can't really deal with the ads. So it's kind of dumb. But I mean, that's how it is. And I think this is the fight that most people will have trouble with, just because the line of sight mechanic is very hard. It's very hard in the healer and tank that goes to the line of sight group. So it's important you have a group there that knows what they're doing. And it'll take a lot of tries before you can really learn to do the line of sight mechanic. You see there she goes down. And this is the last boss fight, the Serpent. This is where he spawns, right here. And when you're tanking the Serpent, you want to keep him at the edge of the circle like this. So this is where the tank will stand. So the boss is facing towards the stone in the back. That way his cleave attack will not hit anyone in the group other than the tank. Because if you're not blocking the cleave attack, surprise surprise, it will kill you. Where it's shot right there, that was the first lamia spawn. And up here is the second lamia spawn. These lamias are needed for the totem groups, the lamia groups or whatever you want to call them. And basically you have to bring them to one totem that spawns every time the lamia spawns. Right here is where the Manta Cora spawns. Over here Manta Cora spawns as well. So the lamia group is basically, I think we take half our group. So there's an off tank, there's 4 DPSs and a healer, and they take the lamias and bring them to what is known as a buff totem. I'll call it out here in a second when it comes, but the buff totem is a green totem that shoots a what's it called? Like a green line towards the boss and buffs him. I don't really know what kind of buff it is. Some people are saying that it's a damage reduction, but I don't think that's true. I think it's a damage increase from what I remember, but I'm not sure how they've changed it. You know, I've done this fight a few times, but I haven't really been sure. Like, I'm not really sure how exactly it changes the fight, like the buff totem. But actually, right now you can see the buff totem is standing on top of the group, like on top of the boss, basically. Yeah, usually it would be, you know, away from the boss, and the off tank would then grab the 2 lamias to spawn, bring it over to the totem, and then the DPSs for the lamia group would then kill the lamias next to the totem. The lamias then explode when they die and take out 50% of the totem's health. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's bugged, because it used to be in the past that the lamias would kill the totems in one blow, but since they buff the health of the totems, but not the damage of the lamias, it actually only does half of the totem's health, which is kind of dumb, because that way you can't get rid of all the totems, which was possible in the past. So right here, you can see this is the Manta Cora phase, and the lamia phase and Manta Cora phase alternate, and they do this twice, and then you get a purple bubble phase, which is what you saw in the start of the fight. So yeah, you get lamia phase, Manta Cora phase, lamia phase, Manta Cora phase. The Manta Cora needs to be killed quick enough, otherwise he'll enrage and start stomping the group and giving everyone bleed damage and stuff like that. So you want to focus him down when he comes. To see, basically the way this fight works, there's the lamia phase, then there's poison, which is happening right now. Then there's a Manta Cora phase, poison, lamia phase. You can see now we're back to a lamia phase. Then there's a Manta Cora phase after the lamia phase, and then after the second Manta Cora phase and the poison phase, there's then purple bubbles or pink bubbles. And the pink bubbles, basically you just have to grab one before the boss does his explosion, and then you'll survive. You see there's a pink bubble, and he'll also do it at the end when you kill him. And the reason why I think this is the easiest fight in here is just because it's not very hard to tank, and it's not very hard to DPS. The boss remains still the entire fight, and there is very little damage to the entire group. So yeah. Anyway, I hope this guide was helpful. Thanks for watching.